welcome. Hey, it's me, Brandy P with Yes, I Am the Veteran, and it's been an interesting week so far. I hope everybody else has made it as well, and the Marines are having a great Marine Corps birthday. Happy birthday, Devil Dogs. Have to give you guys a little bit of shit, but that's pretty amazing that, it's how many years the Marine Corps has really been around, so it's pretty amazing. I actually was learning about more about like why they became Devil Dogs, but let me introduce my guest, Erik Castillo. He definitely needs no introduction. He's a podcast award winner, the most hilarious awards ever seen. So did you want to introduce yourself, sir?
Sure. My name is Erik Castillo. I host the Warrior Mindset and Motivation podcast, and I've been on pause with that, and I'll elaborate a little later. But I was in the Army for 17 and a half years before I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and PTSD. I deployed 6 times total, 3 times to Afghanistan, 1 time to Iraq, and then 2 peacekeeping operations to Hungary and Saudi Arabia. Just a couple of small little accolades from the Army. For those who are Army, I was inducted into the Sergeant Audie Murphy Club and the Sergeant Morales Club. Wow. And also for the artillery, the Order of St. Barb's. That's my Stetson up there, as you can see, with both gold and silver spurs back there. You get the gold spurs for deploying. Huh?
I was trying to look, but I didn't want to be weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, there you go. The gold is on the right, silver's on the left. So the gold spurs are for just going to a combat zone in a cav unit, and then the silver spurs are for completing a spur ride. Every place has a different way they do the spur ride. Mine, I always complain because mine was the hardest while I was there in Germany. It was 3 days long, with only 2 hours of sleep each day. Yep. So by the 3rd day, I was done, and I was like, I earned those damn spurs. And then the next years, they did it 2 days, then 1 day, then half a day. So I would just complain and give everybody crap for my time that I was there because mine was the longest and it sucked really bad.
Well, I mean, not even that. Like the weather in Germany can be pretty brutal. Like especially like the winters, like the freezing cold. I lived in Germany as a kid. My dad was 3rd Cav. He's also 1st and 3rd AD. So I lived in Würzburg and Herzogenaurach and Erlangen. So I definitely remember my dad talking about earning his spurs and how it was like such a big deal. And there's like a ceremony, like they're handed out. There's not just like, here you guys go, like, go to clothing sales. Like it's not like that at all. There's so much history in those spurs.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. And I'll never forget because I did mine in freaking November. It was snowing. And on one of the days we had to go into a river and rebuild a dam while it was snowing. Oh yeah.
That's Army. Yeah, that's Army.
I was really questioning my life at that point. It's like, I am in the water, it's snowing, and I'm rebuilding a dam. What the hell? Like
with no waders, of course.
No, just gloves and wet weather gear in there, just packing sandbags and just mad at the world and cold.
You get out and you're like, am I a female? Parts of me are no longer external.
For real. It was but then did that, and then I went to Hawaii, which was I went after Germany. I went to Hawaii, and then my first duty station was Fort Bragg. I kind of jumped around. I was kind of fortunate with my duty stations because usually people kind of don't stay in one place too long. I got to stay at Fort Bragg for 6 years, which was, and I see each duty station as like a development for me because I was there for so long. So like at Fort Bragg, I did 1 Iraq tour and 2 Afghanistan tours. And one of those tours, our unit was attached to the 7th Group Special Forces people down there when we went in 2003 to Afghanistan. So like in Fort Bragg, I learned how to be like a soldier, like how to really soldier and really grind in the nitty gritty of just being tough. Then I went to Fort Lewis for a short stint, which that place was toxic. But that was my, I call that my research and development time because that place, as horrible as it was, and the unit was actually disbanded for toxic leadership and then reflagged to designate under a different identifier as 2-2 instead of 5-2. That right there, they taught me how to research and how to really be on your P's and Q's and just to be basically a know-it-all almost when it comes to researching and finding answers and things, because they would try to get you and try to trap you up and you had to be ready all the time. So they taught me, that's my research and development time. It was 2 years. And then the time in Germany, which was another 6 years, which is long because usually it's a 3-year tour.
Yeah, well, you might get lucky and sometimes get married and, you go to somewhere else, and then there's like multiple assignments, especially like in the early
Yeah.
2000s, like, there's like K-Town, of course, there's Würzburg and Stuttgart and Herzogenaurach before they closed that, and Erlangen. Like, I mean, there's so many places you guys could go from. I mean,
Well, yeah.
depending on unit, of course.
Being artillery, we don't have much choice. So we have Rose Barracks, Germany, down in Vilseck. That's all we got. That's it. Down in the very, that's the only place you got. And I requested to stay, and it was actually approved. So I got to stay there for 6 years, and that called that my leadership deployment, because I learned how to be a leader there. I learned how to use initiative, how to lead, and how to do all that stuff. And then Hawaii was just more of a putting everything I had together before I medically retired, kind of just cultivating everything I had, and then just applying it as an E7.
Yeah, and doing all of that and then medically retiring, like, that's hard. Like, I medically retired and I was like one of those like senior airman mafia prodigies. Like, I never won the awards, but I always did all the crazy shit. So like, yeah. Everyone knows me and like all the crazy things that were probably borderline illegal. But like, at the end of the day, like, I saved, my patients, and I did what I could to help people. And, I took care of all the branches, because at the end of the day, they, a lot of times, like, the records that we wrote would be what they would save them at a court martial, or it would save them like in the future when they get back to their duty stations and their own branch, because it was so well documented. But like, for me, it was hard to go from, full speed ahead, like your career is like, on it's shit hot. So really nothing, quite quickly in that adjustment period. I don't know. Did you struggle with that at all when you were retired?
Oh yeah. It was like a just out of nowhere. Like, think of it like everyone watches football to a sense. So think of yourself as like a quarterback. You snap, you're kind of looking, you see your receiver, and then out of nowhere from the back, pow, run over like by a big 300-pound linebacker, and you're kind of laying there like, what the hell just happened? That's
Which way's up?
Yeah, but which way's up? Because I was hit really, really hard. I went through. It was the dark time. I mean, I didn't make the best choices either during that time, but it was a really, really bad time. I went through a rough end of a previous marriage. For those who do know, I did share it on my podcast. It was a lot of things. I actually got arrested due to the trigger of PTSD, and that did a lot. Like, I had like a long beard, longer hair. Like, I looked scary. Like, I'll never forget when I went into the courtroom. And the lawyer was like, because you have to request to enter veterans court. So it's not like an automatic, and I was facing some pretty serious charges because I attacked my ex-wife. I don't remember doing it, but I did it.
Yeah,
yeah, totally. Like, I saw myself wearing my uniform and fighting an insurgent. That's what I saw.
Yep.
So I'm in there, and then the lawyer is like reading my whole thing, deployments and this, and with the Green Berets, and there's some other people, like other people who were convicted or whatever in their orange jumpsuit sitting over there. And I was sitting there. I was still very angry at that time. Yeah. And I was kind of just sitting there kind of down, and they're all looking at me, and they go, as he's reading my thing, and I look over there, and in the middle of court, I was like, and this is verbatim, I was like, y'all got a fucking problem over there? And then they kind of just went like that. And the judge goes, hey, I'm not going to take that. And I look at him, and then the lawyer goes, stop. And I was like, I'm sorry. And then I just put my head down.
You're like, just do like the truth thing. You're like, you know what? Just don't admit guilt. Don't look anyone in the eyes either.
Yeah. And then I got into veterans court, and the first couple of months of that was actually pretty hard too, because I was still kind of stuck into the ways of like, things are going to be my way because you're going to do what I say, and because I know what's right. And I know how to get stuff done, but that doesn't work in the civilian world. It's a whole different set of rules. It's a different ballgame. And that was a real hard learning curve, because I actually yelled at the judge in veterans court a couple times. I was sitting there, I was like, you don't fucking know me. He goes, no, but I know your record. And I was like, I don't have a record. And so I was like, I don't have a record. I was like, I have a driver's license. Boom. And I slammed it on the thing. I was like, I have a job. And I slammed my badge on the thing. I was like, I shouldn't even fucking be here.
I hate you.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really, really bad. But it's a good program, because that helped, because they made me go to domestic violence counseling, which it wasn't even really about, oh, don't beat your spouse. It was more of when it was really good because you can choose a couple places, and I chose a good place, and I met a couple of good people there that I still talk to this day. And one of the guys actually got hired at Intel, when he finished also. And they teach you about being aware of your actions, not what the other person did. It's you owning your actions, taking responsibility for your actions, and what could you do to not let those actions happen again.
Yep.
And it was really, really informative, and I liked it. I really did. And there was a couple of times me and the counselor, because it was a group, so me and him, we went back and forth a couple times, just because of it was good debate. It was respectful, and it was really, really good. And I learned a lot there. I learned a lot, and that helped kind of transition. That actually prepared me after Veterans Court was done, because I finished in 12 months. No pissing hot, like no drugs, no alcohol, because I didn't do that anyways. And it was a clean slate. I didn't have any setbacks. I didn't have any extensions in the program. And it was a really good, and I thought a lot of that contributed to that domestic violence program, because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, because in order for you to actually finish and get the letter of recommendation from the counselors, you have to write an essay, basically reliving the entire night, but not placing blame on the other person. Even though it was her fault initially why it started, because she grabbed me and I blacked out, I wasn't allowed to talk about that.
You talk about and stuff.
Yeah, so I had to acknowledge me. I had to be like, what did I do? Where did I fail? Okay, so she did this, okay, but what led up to it? So, I mean, and I even wrote in there, a lot of it wasn't on me, but it's not like it wasn't all my fault, because there's always two faults to every side, even though some kind of lean more heavy to one side or the other. There's no equal blame. Sometimes kind of lean more, and with this one it was more leaning towards her, but it was just them identifying the responses, and then identifying the triggers and things like that. So it was a really good paper. I still have it, and that program was really, really good, and I'm doing all right now. I had a service dog during that whole time. He's a Czechoslovakian Shepherd. His name's Kenobi.
Nice.
And he goes with me everywhere. He has a floppy ear. He's 90 pounds.
You dress him up, right? Like, I think I've seen pictures of that dog dressed up. Like, I feel
in
like
his vest. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he goes everywhere. He goes with me to work, to Intel when I have to go on site to work. So he goes with me. That was a whole process in itself.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, so that was neat. And then I got married last year to my best friend. So it's funny, because when you meet somebody, and they always say, behind every strong person is a strong significant other, if they're with someone. And you can tell that. And that may sound kind of like, corny or cheesy, but it's true, because if you see someone going and they're doing great and they're standing out and their chest is out, more times than less, they have a strong partner supporting them. Yep. And you don't realize that until when you're in something bad, toxic, and you move into something that's not. You're like, you look over and you're like, what the hell was I doing over there? Why was I even dealing with all that stuff? Yep. Because that stuff didn't help.
Yep, you get mad at yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's like now, it's like it's just so much. It's happiness. It's like the twin flame best friend. Like a lot of the stuff I've done after that Veterans Court, and because I met her towards the end of it. She does her own wellness therapies and treatments and stuff like that, with Tibetan sound bowls and energy healing and things like that. So that's kind of how we met, and it's just. I can honestly say she has been such a huge contributor to me, to where I am now, to where it's almost like I would feel freaking lost if I didn't have her. I would be what the hell am I doing? I'd probably just be flapping in the wind. If we just a windy day, you just throw a bunch of leaves out there and just watching them go fly all around, or just a balloon flying around the damn sky. That'd be me. So it's it's just she's really been there, and we have a really good communication, and that stuff's important. And a lot of that's
right? That's important too. I'm sorry.
Say again.
it's like she understands like your PTSD, right? And she
Yeah.
understands how to be a caregiver and to be mindful of triggers, because a lot of significant others in relationships don't realize that if you trigger someone with severe PTSD, it can lead to issues that cause further issues in the relationship too.
Yeah. And it all boils down to like how you talk to each other and how the brain perceives tones of voice, body posture, all that. The brain will perceive all that stuff. And she has her own set of triggers as well. I mean, not military related, but like just from, previous traumas that she's had. So it's worked for me too, because I have to make sure I don't activate those. And if something happens, like I have to be able to quickly get in there and correct it. So that way, she knows that she's okay. And it's just an old flashback, and like how she does for me.
Yep. Yep. And that's what's so important. I really think that that's something that the VA should do more of, is like education for the caregivers or the spouses. So they understand, because like, they can tell us stuff all the time, but I mean, one of the hallmarks of PTSD is memory issues. So we're not going to remember like a lot of the stuff that we're told, and we were usually so focused on what we had to relive in these sessions that we don't always remember homework, right? Especially for spouses, and it's not like they hand us flyers. They never discussed it when we were at TAPS, when we were getting out. Like everyone slept through that. If there was a slide, I'm pretty sure we all slept through that one. But at the end of the day, like, man, like they should just like let us off for like the afternoon, like, and just like send us the slides. At least we could have referenced later.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that the unit's breathing down your neck. Hey, you need to come back. It's like, I'm getting out. Like, leave me alone. Like it was that, and that alone, like I mean, they're doing better with the soldier. It's called Soldier for Life now. SFL is what it's called. It's a little better. They make you like, they had me like set up a new email address, professional, like your first name, last name, whatever. So it's a little better than from what it was when it was TAP or whatever it was called, the Army Transition Program. So it's a little better. They still got a long ways to go in regards to like the transition out, because they don't really prepare you for getting out. Some people have it easy, some don't. Some people transition just fine. Some of my buddies who retired, they're just fine. They're good. They're doing all right. Now, if they got some stuff brewing behind the curtain that no one sees, that's okay. But not me. Mine was like, here, you're going to fall down to the ground. I hit the ground. And then I went to roll over to get up. And then there was a freaking cliff, and I fell some more. Didn't know there was a cliff there. So I'm falling down, beating all around, hitting the side, hit the ground, pow. Okay, I think this is it. I go to kind of get up, take a step up, another cliff, fall down some fucking more. And it's like, but, and as I hit the bottom this time, I didn't rush to get up. So I put myself on my back, and I kind of just looked up, and no matter how dark it is, there's always a small light, because no matter how dark something gets, light is always at the other end, because it's a balance. It's a balance, an energetical balance. It's like I call it like a battery. You can't have negative without positive, because it just won't work. It'll be top heavy, and that's just not the way life works. You have positive, you have negative, and they balance. It's like those checks and balances, little scales that go up and down like that. Sometimes it goes like this, sometimes it goes like this, and that's what I was kind of looking at. And then once I kind of found that light, I started to climb up. Now, help came along the way to get up out faster, and the hard part for us is actually accepting it. That's the hard part, because we feel that we're self-sufficient and we can do it on our own, because even people I've talked to, I can do it on my own. I don't need help. Come months later, you're still in the same spot. You haven't left. You're still in that area, still saying, I'm trying to make it. Well, you've had people try to help you get out of there, but you don't want to do it because you're comfortable there. It's a safe space. It's your comfort zone, because you don't know what's outside those lines. So it's easy just to stay there instead of actually seeing, hey, looking forward. You see much more looking forward, and you miss so much. If you're so busy looking backwards, you're not going to see what's ahead of you. It's like I read a thing once where it was like, think of it like driving a car. When you drive, you don't drive looking up at the rearview mirror the whole time. You drive out looking at the windshield.
Yep.
So you're always going forward.
Like the
So,
what's in the rear view should be like the small part of what you see, not the all of what you see. And I think a lot of us, we get caught in that. We have like that demented reel that plays over and over in our minds, but we get so focused on what happened before, we don't think about all that's coming up to us. A lot of experiences in which we're not either equipped to deal with. It's been years since we've been in those situations, or they're stressful as hell, and we don't realize, how we didn't have those extra stressors while we were in, or it's different kinds of stressors and you don't have the support. Because for me, it's always good having that sense of community, right? And when you lose that, you tend to lose your purpose too, right? Because you forget, and then you just, all you remember is being miserable and, just being, just angry or, sad. And you don't remember being happy anymore. You don't remember what it's like to have hope,
right.
or, like look forward to things, like most people, they have dreams and plans for future. But a lot of us, we look at just like surviving day to day, and we're so focused on our own stuff. We don't even look, to building us, I guess, outward, to making ourselves better than we were, so we could deal with the situations that we have to deal with.
Right. And it's like and for some people I know, especially military wise, they always would teach, and I would teach as a leader. Whenever there was a problem, you're in the field, you're deployed, either combat or not. You're out there in the field, you're doing your training. When you run into a problem, what do you do? In there, I always get the silent responses like, I get help. How do you get help? Well, I pick up the radio. There you go. What's your radio? Right here. Freaking cell phone. That's your hand mic. Pick up the phone and call someone, because you did it while you were in, and I'm guilty of it too. And when you get out, something happens to where you forget how to do that. You forget. So I don't know what it is. It's just you kind of like you said, the community of, just there was people guaranteed there, where on the outside, you don't have that same, community. And it's like, for me, like I dealt with a lot of depressors and stressors, but I buried my head into work and just being a leader, and I would work through my own problems while helping others because they were similar.
Yep.
So now when you remove that carpet, when you get out, there's nothing under there, and you're like, damn it, I have no one to help. I have no one to coach. I have no one to mentor. I have no one to lead. Yep. What's going on? And then you're kind of just stuck. For most, not for all, but for most. For me, I was that one.
Yep.
And it was hard.
Especially when they look up to you, like if you're, one of the more, I guess, looked up to in the unit, you're always having people come up to you. How do you do this? Or, I have questions with my girl and we're fighting, and you have that sense of fulfillment too, because you're mentoring, right? And you go from doing all of that to doing none of that. And then, we tend to forget what it's like to be in a unit anymore, where it feels even odd when we're around other military, because we tend to self-isolate with PTSD.
Yeah.
And, we tend to kind of be in our own little world of suck. And we don't realize that, a lot of other people can make it a lot easier for us. As my friend, like I had a situation earlier myself. And, it's like, we'll step out from that dark rain cloud where you're standing under, like, like you're doing all this other stuff. And I'm like, but you don't understand, and like, you just like, really, like, you look ridiculous. Like, like, and then like, I'm like, kind of like, shut up. Like, but you think about it, sometimes you don't have those people to snap you out of that and to make you really think about, really that a couple bad days are nothing compared to what's in front of you. For me, I was 23, like when I was told I was going to die, and I was 25 when I retired. I was medically retired at the ripe old age of 25. Yeah, that was awkward. My own drill sergeant retired me. Not many people can make such a claim. So, yeah,
wow.
that was awkward. But still happened. With my Alaska commander with the 06, and that I knew from England, had PCS with me. It was pretty funny. But you never really know how things are going to end up and how you're going to run into a lot of the people that you serve with later too. Like, I mean, I would have, like, I straight accused you of lying if you'd have told me I was going to do something like this as my life, because I wanted to be a physician. I wanted to do X, Y, and Z, and then I'd never planned for having my legs almost taken from me, and then having 17% circulation. So it's hard, like, because you're just like, I had all these plans, like, because there's always that big lie, like, when I get out, I'm going to make 50,000 or 100,000, the coolest job, and I'm going to quit it just because I want to, like, and then you get out and you're like, it's not at all like that, like, it was fantasy though, but like, you're like, dang, but it's just finding that purpose, even when you're out. Like for you, like what was the most important part of, like, 'cause I know you said it took a lot for you to rebuild, but you were able to do that. And a lot of us, we feel that once we start making mistakes, like, you getting incarcerated, or, getting in trouble with the law, or a bad divorce, you're lost, and you don't think that you can correct it and get better and improve yourself. Like, so for you, what was like the most crucial component to like making you like own your shit? I mean, aside from like the essay, but like just really understanding, like, that there was better out there for you.
I think when I realized what was better out there was when I actually got away from all the toxic stuff. Like when you are able to pull yourself out of that. And I always say people who are stuck in that place and don't know how to get out. And this is like the unfortunate raw truth. Something catastrophic is going to happen because you're not supposed to be there. And whatever you believe in, the universe, atheist or something, energy, whatever, if it doesn't want to be there, it will cause things to happen to either escort you out or put a foot in your ass and kick you out. Well, I got the foot, the throw, I got thrown, I got everything. I got it all in once to get the heck out of that situation. Like, because it was no good. It wasn't no good for me. It was no good for my kids. It was no good for my ex. It was just bad for everyone. But and it was that guilty of just, like, oh, I got to take care of the kids. I got to deal with this, like, but then, yeah, they just shoved it down until, well, like when I had someone on my podcast, he calls it the beach ball effect. You fill up a beach ball and you go into a pool and you push it down and you sit there and try to go on it and sit there and hold it down. Eventually that beach ball is going to come up. No matter how long you can sit, it's going to come up eventually. It's going to work its way and it's going to pop up to the surface. And well, that's what happened with me. And so there was that. And once I got removed from that, I was really able to sit down and kind of just look at myself and evaluate myself. And then of course, that's also a dangerous place to be, because then you start questioning everything you did. You're in it, both in and out of the military. So you question both. And again, like, the universe works in mysterious ways, because every time I would question myself as a leader, I'd get a call from someone that I served with. Either they're still in or they're out, or I'd get a message at Facebook or a text. Not the same day, maybe the next day or something like that. Sometimes, it would happen sporadically, and kind of just reaffirming that I helped them. I mentored them. And it's like, dang, okay. Like just a couple of weeks ago, was it maybe close to a month ago, a guy I was in Germany with, he had to go back there first. He's still in. He had to go back there for some training, and he was driving through Vilsec, the Rose Barracks, to go check in, going through the gate. And out of everyone, he called me, and that was like, whoa. I was like, okay, so we talked for a long time, and he talked about how I mentored him and how I coached him. And I'm like, that was just, he's like, no, he's like, people, he was like, broke down to me. Like, people were like, they looked up to me a lot. And that was like, that really hit, so that you get those calls, and the universe does, it'll do it. Yeah, it'll confirm for you. It won't do it when you want it or when you want to hear it, but it'll just do it. Because I was actually in like just a couple of days before, I was wondering, like, I was like, dang, I wonder how those dudes are doing. Because I see them on Facebook every now and then.
Yeah.
And then I was like, dang, I wonder who I've impacted. Are they still doing good things? Are they still kind of driving on? And he was like, and he's E7 now. Maybe he'll make E8. I know he's getting looked at for that. And he's like, he's like, the way you trained me is how I've trained everyone under me. And I was like, son of a bitch. He made me cry. I was like, son of a bitch, and that was nice to hear. And I was like, fuck, like, okay. And then we talked for a little while, and then reminisced on some old stories and things, kind of like how we do. We shared legit war stories, not just the
remember the one time we fought camel spiders.
Yeah.
That's a thing, by the way.
We shared our war stories from when we were in Afghanistan and the times in Germany, and the funny stuff I did, funny stuff he did, and and it was a good call. It was like 2 hours, and it was at an awkward time because we were moving stuff into the house, and it was a weird place because I wanted to help, but I was like, no, I need to answer this. Because we were moving boxes, and my wife was so loving and understanding, and she was like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "It's dude who I was in from Germany." And she goes, "Okay." She just went like that, and then walked, and
Aw.
yeah, and then kept moving stuff with some people that were helping us, and I was on the phone, talking with him, and that helped me out a lot because I didn't have to worry about her being mad or holding a grudge or anything like that. She kind of just gave me the okay. When it comes to a veteran, she doesn't say anything. She just goes, all right, and kind of just either goes to do something else or to keep herself occupied, or if she asks if she can help. So that was a it was an interesting day because
Awesome.
it was she did that when previously, and this is where a trigger comes in, because previously that wouldn't work. Previous relationship, that would not have went down that way.
Yep.
I would have felt to have just only been talked for a little bit and then pretty much been forced to hang up,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, and I had to explain that my ex, like, we were mill to mill, and she's civilian, and she was not really around the military environment, so she didn't really understand. And like, so a friend of mine thought I had died. She's just, I didn't really die. Like, I just didn't answer a couple calls that she called like 3 a.m. I was tired, man. I was sick. Like, anyways, but like, so she basically called and thinking that I died, and she needed someone to like do a welfare check, which I appreciate. But I was like, I'm alive though. Like, come on,
Yeah,
like you knew I was alive. But
yeah,
she was very upset, and she blocked her. And I was like, look, like, understand, like, sometimes people that we serve with are gonna call and be female, and it's not because they want to date. It's because that was their brother,
yeah,
because that was the person they went to for advice. And I was like, everyone looked up to him because we were always together. So everyone knew him just like they knew me. So if they can't get a hold of me, they would call him.
yeah,
And she didn't understand. And I was like, hopefully she gets it at some point. She's nice. It's just, it's a learning curve, right? And
yeah,
sometimes women, they get a little nervous. It's like, well, why should this girl calling you at 10 or 8 o'clock at night drunk? Well, that's how we do sometimes. But like,
yeah,
sometimes there's the calls you take, and they're the important ones, like what you're saying, with your spouse, where she was just like, hey, you got this, just come
yeah,
back to me when you're ready, booty rub later, but cool, like, I had to move these boxes, but I get that. And that's really cool. She was understanding of that,
yeah.
because
She really is.
I think a lot of people, like, they would be so much better off if they had that understanding. And Jamie says, even a small step will move you forward. Yes, ma'am. Even if you fall on your face, you were still moving forward, as I always like to tell people.
Yeah. Yeah, even if you fall backwards, you still got to get up forward. Like you still gonna, no matter how you fall, whether it's on your back or on your side, and if you do a spin around or whatever, get up. Guess what that step is? Forward.
Yep.
You don't fall backwards and then get up and step backwards. It just, no, you're gonna fall again.
No, literally, I can't catch myself, so I fall on my face. This tooth is dead. I can't smile straight anymore because I've hooked in my mouth. But like, yeah, like, a shoe hits the manager in the face. Like, it's never
Yeah,
cute. Like, it's like, it becomes a projectile. Like, because I have a dead leg, it's like, I can't. It's like,
yeah,
I never
it's all
fall
good.
gracefully. I want to like be one of those girls that falls prettily and like cries. No, I'm a hot
No.
mess. They're like, what is that? Like, one of these times someone's gonna record me eating it, and like, it's gonna go viral. I'm concerned. But
Yeah, it's just, if you fall, just fall. Let gravity take its course and just fall. That's what I used to tell
yeah,
people all the time while we were marching, or if we're in, or even now carrying boxes. If you're gonna fall, just fall. Because you try to push stuff out the way and all these things, you're just gonna get more hurt. Just fall however you fall.
okay, so you're in Germany though, like, so there's ravines and shit there. Like, so I would tell
Yeah.
them
So when you go into southern Germany, right?
I used to
It's
do.
very country down there.
I know you fall, you're gonna roll for a while.
Yes.
It doesn't
And
fall
like,
that way.
there's creeks and rivers and things all down there, and it's like, and they're
There's
very
stores.
traditional down there. Stores will be
Yes,
closed like on a Tuesday for some random German holiday,
you're fine.
like, and they're always closed on Wednesdays, and they're closed on Sundays. So
Yeah. Man,
they're
like
very
the
traditional.
fields. Yeah, yeah, but they are very much. And honestly, like, I kind of appreciated it as a kid growing up and seeing that, because you kind of wish that you see that here a lot more. I mean, I live in Texas, so it's not like I'm from northern Wisconsin where, everybody knows everybody and they'll help you and do whatever. It's kind of like, I don't know you, I'm going to keep going. And so it's kind of, you miss that, where that sense of community, but you don't miss like everyone knowing your business and your mom and your sister and cousins, like, like dated like other people. Like,
yeah.
But, sorry, like, I don't know what's going on upstairs right now, but yeah, the footsteps, I swear it's not a ghost. I did want to quickly talk a little bit about a benefit program I learned about. I had a woman veteran that she was having issues with her internet. She didn't have a lot of cash, and for me, like, I want to help, and I wasn't able to help her that way. So I was like, well, let me see what I can do program wise for you. So there's actually a program called the Affordability Connectivity Program, the ACP benefit. So it's $30 credit on your internet. So let's say if they shut your internet off, right? If you're like veterans, like certain like conditions qualify, like, so you don't have to be just a veteran. It could be like if you're on Medicaid, if you're an aid and attendant for somebody, but it's $30 off. So basically, if your cable was shut off and your internet, they would at least restore your internet for you if you qualified for a year. So it's like $30 automatically off of whatever your cable or internet is, and basically everybody accepts it because it's a federal program. So it's you just go to acpbenefit.org, and then what you would do is you would complete your application, and then they would just ask like proof that you were a veteran, like your awards and comp letter or whatever. And you can get that from eBenefits, or you can go to a VSO and they'll print it for you. But what you can do is you can turn that in. So that way, I mean, everyone can use a little bit cheaper cable, especially if you qualify. So definitely I would recommend it, especially for our senior veterans.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, internet, like I know people, they pay like $200-$300 just to have basic internet so they can watch Netflix or something, So at the end of the day, I definitely would recommend, just checking it into it, especially if times are tight. The internet shut off, but you need something to do. Absolutely something that I would very much recommend to just any senior if they qualify, especially if they're on Medicaid. A lot of people don't know about this benefit that are eligible for it. So I definitely would recommend it to everybody to just mention it or check it out just because of the fact that there's a lot of qualifying conditions. And so, I mean, I'm sure you know this just as well as a lot of other people with the VA, like they never tell you your benefits, and the federal government sure as hell doesn't either. So that's kind of why I like to, at the end of our podcast, like kind of talk a little bit about something that people don't know about. Just like Botox is actually something that the VA pays for.
No shit.
If you have migraines, pay for $3,000 a quarter, I think it is. Yeah, because Viola was $2,500, and they would actually send me to neurologists like with it in my hand. I'm like, this doesn't feel safe at all. We're ethical, but okay. And so, but yes, so it's actually one of the different modalities that are given for veterans that suffer with migraines. So like, they'll just inject here. Yes, I can move eyebrows, but like, they go all the way, like your scalp, and then like they have like a couple units left, and they'll ask you where you want it. I always say like my upper trapezius, because I have a lot of issues with my shoulders. But it's definitely something that I would recommend to veterans to check out as well. We have had a neurologist on before, Dr. Wendy Wu. She's super awesome. She gave us a lot of really great information. My hope is to eventually have her come on again with a UFC fighter and talk a bit about CTE or something along those lines, just any sort of contact injury. She actually was really interested. Her husband's a huge fan, which is kind of funny. I'm like, really? Like, you fix those people? And she's like, yeah, but it's still really interesting. So I'm hoping that we can get Mark Coleman to come back on again, and he can speak with her, or we can have one of the other gentlemen that we met at the UFC Hall of Fame, which is pretty interesting as well. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, my Facebook is open. It's all public, so they can look for my name right here, and they can send me a message on Facebook, Instagram. I got 2 Instagram. Well, I also have my podcast page, Warrior Mindset and Motivation. That's on Facebook, Instagram, and then my Instagram is Curly815, old high school nickname I had because I used to have long curly hair growing up. So that's the Instagram. I do have a TikTok. That thing is fun, and like that's a good mental health like thing for me. because I like to make a video and then the editing process and kind of just sitting there playing with it, and then, or watching someone do a video, I'm like, I want to do that, and try to do it, and
too many ideas.
yeah, I have a bunch of fun on there. Like, I do a lot of them. I have a bunch of fun. I do some with my wife where I kind of just, we have a couple on there that where I'll tease her with something, or I'll explain something to her, and her reactions are priceless. Like, I love her reactions because they're so silly and they're so funny. I love them. Or like jokes, like reading jokes. I love reading the corny dad jokes. So like on TikTok, so I have one of those, and that one is Combat Bet 81. Is it 815? It's either Combat Bet 815 or 0815. I can't remember. It's one of those two. So I do that there. If you want to laugh, if you need some mental health for laughing, you can go do that. You can go watch there as well. And then you can watch some of the videos I had on my podcast. That'll come back up here in the next few months once life kind of simmers down. It's simmering a little more now, just as, simmers a little more. I got some good people on there, a lot of good information. For those who who need financial assistance, for those who don't know, Wounded Warrior Program actually has a one-time emergency assistance that they give you. I think the cap is like $2,000, and you just have to provide documentation on why you need it. But they do provide a one-time emergency financial assistance because I had to use it. Another place is called usacares.org, I think it is. They provide emergency assistance. And Army Emergency Relief for Army veterans and stuff. Just because you're out, you still have access to that. So whatever the Air Force and Marines and all that stuff have for like whatever they use for their relief efforts, those still qualify too. I didn't know that. So like for me, Army Emergency Relief, same thing, provide the paperwork, and they'll grant you immediate financial assistance as well. So for quick little money things there for people, whoever's watching can check those out because they do work because I've used them.
Honestly, and that's the thing is that a lot of these programs that the VA will hand you, if you're saying like I'm having issues with, I'm going to be evicted or this is going to happen, and they basically hand you this sheet, and like I even checked it out because I like to recommend things that I vet myself, and like they literally were out of money in like July, like all of these programs, like it was literally a sheet like this long, and it's like all these people are like I help veterans, but I'm like, how much are you helping us if you're out of money that you're saying that you have still in spades in July? Like they're not going to be less homeless at Christmas,
right? So like there's tons of, you just have to research, like, and that's where Fort Lewis came in, the 2 years of hell research. Like veterans, if you go to the right website, you can get a free service dog, free, and those are not cheap, And I think one's like Canine for Troops or Canine for Warriors. That's a free one. Now there's a wait list. You're not going to get turned around like right away, but if you really want one and you do your research, you can get one of those for free. And they even have a program where I think it's called Working Dogs for Vets, where depending on the type of dog you have, you can actually train your dog yourself with another certified trainer who went through the program. So like I have my dog, he's trained. You have a dog, you get evaluated, and if you work out, you and me will train your dog together. And that's free because it's basically paying it forward. Someone trained me, so now I'm going to train you.
And that's the thing. Like, we don't look at that stuff, and, it's about paying it forward. We actually, one of our previous guests, so Mark Eberly from POTS Healing Heroes, which is a service dog nonprofit as well. He was just on the Rachel Ray show again. He just reappeared on her show. I think this week it was. But he has a great organization. We've had Fort Danes on as well. There are a lot out there. It's just knowing, what's in your area, right? Because some of them are localized because, like the training facilities aren't like mobile, right? And you have to come back repeatedly. You have to know, like, is it a full like sponsorship for a dog, or do you have to pay so much? And then the same with, any sort of assistance, like really looking outside of what the VA offers, and just being active on social media, checking out different veteran organizations and groups. Some, there are some that like they're starting to like work on like linking up like a big database, but unfortunately with nonprofits, not everyone talks to each other, and there's no like veteran nonprofit database, which I wish there was like an official one, where basically like everybody had to be entered into it. And then like they had to be vetted. Like I know like people do it privately. Like we've had people do that previously as well, that have come on as guests. but at the end of the day, like was it continue the mission.net, I believe. And so, I mean, we need something that's, more in real time, like things that funds are available for veterans,
there's actually something that there is something like that actually. She was on my podcast. I can't remember what it's called, but it's Patriots something, and it's like a database for all these organizations that they gather and get together information. Yeah. And it's a huge database, and you go in there and you plug in and search, and it'll pull up stuff for you that they've been able to gather. Yeah. I can't remember her name. I can see her face. I did too. I know it's, yeah. And it's like, I see her face. I know it's Patriots something, but I can't remember anything. But I know another guy who does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Greg Cummings, he has the continuethemission.net, and he vets them. But that's what I'm saying. It's not all of the nonprofits. It's only like, but so many, and there's so many more that are being created all the time. So it's just like, no, like this needs to be something that is done right when they first get their tax ID, and they're doing it officially. So that way there's a whole database, and then people can screen through it, and it'll make it easier for those organizations to pull and upload new potential nonprofits or ones that they definitely don't feel are vetted to help veterans, because that's quite frustrating. And a lot of people get very frustrated with not getting treatment or help because they're like, well, I had this bad experience with this one nonprofit, or something happened that it really shouldn't have, but it turns those people away that are truly in need. And we unfortunately tend to wait until it's far too late to ask for help.
Yeah, that's true. Like, and it's really just comes down to Googling and research. Like, there's a place called Rush University in Chicago. They do inpatient PTSD treatment. I think it's 4 weeks long, and they rip the Band-Aid off on day one, and but it's great though. It's really, really, it's a really good program. Wounded Warrior program has their Project Odyssey, where you can go, they pay for everything. I went to, since I was here in Oregon, I went to the Rogue River. We did kayaking and whitewater rafting, and that was all part of the program. And we were down there for like, I think it was a week, and it felt like we were back in the Army. We would go down the river, we'd find a spot on the side, set up tents, go to sleep, tear everything. I was like being in the field, and then tear everything down, and then back down the river again. So like they're out there. You just gotta look for them, and if you need help, they can ask you. They could ask me. I'll find you something. If you really need something, I'll find it.
Oh yeah. And I'm huge on that. I'll reach out. I love doing cross podcasts. I love reaching out to other podcasters because we have different guests come on all the time, all of us. So like, imagine if all the podcasters actually like pulled together resources from guests, because a lot of times, like some people, like they do like the whole tour and they just do all of it, like the different podcasts. But some of them, like they maybe only do like one podcast. So like, one podcaster might have information that 3 others have never heard of. You know? Like for me, like I've been very fortunate that I've met so many amazing nonprofits, but some of them, like, they're very small, but they do a lot of things for the community. So it's just like, trying to like balance all of that, it's definitely a challenge. But I mean, we definitely appreciate you coming on tonight and speaking with us. Before we do close out, give us your final thoughts.
Final thoughts? All right. This is very cliche, like cliche, but very straightforward. Don't be a dick, because if you're a dick to someone's going to be a dick back to you. And you're going to be all mad because they're being mean to you. Well, what did you do for them to be mean to you? If you're just a nice person, people are going to be nice back to you, and I see it firsthand, people who are rude, you're going to get that attitude back. So it all boils down to, don't be a dick. Even if someone else is doing that, try to hold it, because I'm very quick on the trigger too. My wife will tell you I'm very quick draw McGraw when it comes to that, like when it comes to disrespect. But pump the brakes for a second and just be like, okay, just wait. Let them cross the line, and then you respectfully put them back in their place. But just don't be a dick. Where there's dark, there's light. And if you don't believe me, it's very simple. Go to sleep and then wake up. If you're in the dark, you turn the light on. There's your light. Light's around. And sometimes the light will come up in the most unexpected places that you don't expect them to be. So just pay attention. They're there. You just have to look.
Absolutely. It costs $0 to be a good person. I definitely agree. Put good out there. It comes back to you. But absolutely, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I remember you getting your award. So if you ever want to check out, was it the Broken Jarheads 2021 podcast awards?
Yeah.
Was it? You can get a laugh. Check out the awards with those Yahoos. And you can check out when Stonebeck won his. It was pretty hilarious too. So
yeah, that was a good one.
And so next week we'll have Brandy Rector with Samper Fly, and she will be on as well. But thank you again so much, Erik. But have a good rest of the night, guys. Be good. Or get out of
All right, everybody, you guys take care. See you later.
Bye.